All right, last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to other young adults who may be struggling with their mental health?
So my brother, who I mentioned, was like part of my inspiration to go into the field. He was 15 when he was admitted into a psychiatric hospital for suicidality. So I would say, and myself too, right? I know we talked a lot about college. I mean, there was like a time there where I couldn't go to class. I had to take some incompletes, right? And because I didn't feel like I had the strength and the support to like keep it going. I would suggest that just to not be afraid to ask for help. Confide in someone that you feel, or people that prove to you that they love you, that they support you, and you for you, right? Know too that there's so much value that each individual brings to this world, and finding that. And know that you're not alone. I know we talked about, we feel like we're not alone, especially in this work environment. And I can speak for myself where there were moments, right, that I felt very alone and like no one understood and nothing would get better. So just like I said again, surrounding yourself with those people that make you feel valued and loved and make you notice your own purpose in life, because we all have one here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my answers, just like yours, a little layered, right? Like,
Yeah.
I always will say, like, the self-care, right, aspects, but especially for reaching out for help, surround yourself with people that are willing to kind of like help you, willing to listen, but always to an extent, just surround yourself around people that are willing to listen, but to also be able to tell you the hard things about yourself. And not saying that's their job, and when the time has come, hopefully coach them into therapy, because friends and family, even though they're a great resource, they're a great listening ear, their role isn't to always tell you the hard things. Their role isn't always that, because even though our emotions aren't a burden, a lot of people might be too prideful to tell them, hey, like, I'm also going through my own things. They may not feel that it's not appropriate, because they might compare and contrast, like, oh, they're going through a lot, I can't tell them I'm also going through a tough time. So being able to utilize your friends and peers and family to an extent you feel that you're comfortable enough to talk to a stranger about, because you need a neutral party to tell you things that maybe a loved one and family might not be able to tell you.
Right.
I think that's it, right? And also, if you are surrounded by people that aren't able to listen, utilize social media forums or groups that have the same interests as you. And thankfully, there's a lot of resources out there that could be able to help you out, or a lot of people that are going through the same thing. And it's nice to be able to go through the internet and find a group, or find a forum, or find something like that you could join. And there's people that are validating. There's people that have been through the same things, and they might offer you suggestions or advice that may hit different, because they're going through the same things, right? Like.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I suggest, a little multi-layered, but...
Yeah. And I hope one day we can reduce the stigma of mental health in general, therapy in general. I think that's why we see a lot of our caregivers, that like older generation that didn't go to therapy because of the stigma behind it. So letting the young people know that it's okay to go to therapy. Personally, I believe everyone could benefit from therapy. As a therapist myself, I'm also in therapy. So, and I always say, like, the best therapists have their own therapists. I hope, especially for everyone, right? I know sometimes for people who identify as male might not think it's like weak and you're soft, and I've been told those words before. One male once told me that I majored in softness in college, and that really stung. But I know that the people around me now would never say that, and that my vulnerability is a strength. So, I hope other people can see that too in themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Like, I think we're always so keen to focus on physical health checkups yearly. But what's the damage of getting a mental health checkup yearly? It's all a part of the body. It's all a part of the vehicle that keeps us going, right? Like, we need to be a well-oiled machine, and that includes our psyche, more, and it also includes our physical, our physique.
Right.
So yeah, I guess that just addressing both things and knowing that it's okay. As more knowledge come about, more information comes about mental health. Hopefully, it will show people that it's okay to address it. But we're just at the cusp of a mental health awakening for a lot of people, and it's a slow turn, but it's there. It's getting there. People are being more familiar with languages such as anxiety, depression. Like, that wasn't a common thing. And with the normalization of language like that, hopefully people will notice that their symptoms isn't just craziness. Their symptoms isn't just that and this. It is legitimate, and it should be addressed.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Josh brought up before, sometimes one of the biggest challenges is what's wrong within the system, right, on a macro level. So within the community, within our nation, within the world, that we don't necessarily have control over. We're getting there, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's the frustrating part, is when it's a bigger issue. But so that's why it's good to remind ourselves, like, what we're doing is a little fraction of it, of getting there to the point where especially young people won't be afraid or feel like they're all alone in their own heads. And we see it a lot more too, because although the social media can be such a positive, it can also be detrimental to them. And I actually have a really great friend that I met in my social work program, who identifies as a transgender woman, and she actually works with transgender youth. And she's so inspiring, and I've learned so much from her. But it's like that example too, like these kids, they're just like afraid to be themselves, right? And it's even just finding one person like my friend that can validate them and make them feel like they belong in this world. So I always say it, even though whether we like it or not, like, people need people.
Yeah.
It's just our human nature.
Especially after COVID and lockdowns and stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We like cherish these times in the office together. Like when we see everyone in the office one day a week, it totally makes your mood for the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was A+++ advice. So thank you for that. I'm definitely going to take your advice and utilize it in my own personal life. The last thing I wanted to say was we were talking about connection between mental and physical health, which was keeping your mind safe and healthy can for sure help you keep your physical body safe and healthy as well.
Absolutely. It's, think about all of the conditions that are caused by mental health, right? Like, if you have stress can cause high blood pressure, and in turn can cause a cardiac disease, right?
Like, even like a canker sore we were talking about. I'm like, oh gosh, I got one of those again. I must be stressed. So your body just naturally tells you what it needs. So it's pretty fascinating. We just have to be more self-aware. And that's something too we also try to model and teach to our clients.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for the interview. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day.
Thank you so much, man.
Very much appreciate it.
But thank you too for your time throughout, and I look forward to seeing what you can do yourself. And
Thank you.
thank you for letting us voice what we're so passionate about.
Yeah, such well thought out questions, and I can't
Yes.
wait to see what other people we may interview in the future. It's going to be very good information to take in,
Yeah.
Because, like I said, this is such a small portion of our field,
Yeah.
of the umbrella that is social work, but I'm sure you can get a lot out of other people as well, and we may learn. So thank you, Thor. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course.
So this was once again
Paige Reynolds.
And Joshua Perez.
at Child First Bridgeport, and we hope you all have a great rest of your month and 2023.
Yes.
Yes.